Familial adenomatous polyposis, or FAP, is a rare genetic condition that is caused by a mutation in the DNA. FAP causes polyps to develop in the colon. Polyps are small little tumors, and these can turn cancerous if they're not treated. Most patients require surgery to remove the colon to prevent further complications. However, if the polyps become cancerous, and they're not taken out, chemotherapy is required, although it does not often come to that because symptoms like stomach pain or vomiting blood can prompt the individual to get their body checked out. But overall, FAP is a very serious disease that will often, if not always, lead to cancer. FAPS affects the large intestine, and the large intestine is a part of the digestive system. The digestive system is for food to be broken down into nutrients and energy that the body can use. And so basically, the digestive system begins at the mouth, where food is chewed up and broken down so it can be swallowed. And then step two is it's swallowed and it goes down the esophagus. It is transported down the esophagus by like these muscles that expand and contract to move it. And then step three, the food would enter the stomach, where it bathes in gastric acid to be like broken down into monomers. And then the fourth step is the small intestine. The food it is broken down by enzymes produced in the large intestine, and it absorbs the nutrients from the food. And then once all the nutrients are absorbed and it travels all throughout the small intestine, the undigestible matter goes into the large intestine here, and that is step five, the final step, where the food is prepared to be removed from the body, and that is where the digestive system ends. FAP's disease causes the growth of polyps inside the large intestine. So, at a young age, someone with FAPS will develop a lot of these polyps inside their colon. When they develop, however, they are relatively safe. They aren't dangerous. However, if the person does not get them removed or get treated, the polyps will become cancerous and complications will arise. And as I said before, the polyps don't become cancerous until later in adult years. So the colon will still function normally and perform its job even if polyps are there. So the colon will remain doing its job of absorbing water and electrolytes through osmosis. And the sodium is also absorbed through sodium channels in the large intestine. And also, the large intestine will still do its job of excreting and absorbing potassium to make sure that the levels are not too high or low. So the large intestine is able to maintain homeostasis until the polyps become cancerous and affect the cells of the large intestine. That is when the complications start arising. FAPS is caused by a mutation of the APC gene. The APC gene is responsible for the instructions of how to produce a proper APC protein. The APC protein, or adenomatous polyposis coli protein, is responsible for suppressing tumors. The APC protein suppresses tumors when a cell is damaged, or the DNA of a cell is damaged, or something goes wrong with it. It will stop it will stop dividing, and the APC protein will trigger enzymes to repair the damage. And then the damage beyond repair cells will be just destroyed in the body. And that is how normally tumors would be suppressed by the APC gene. However, if you have a mutated APC gene, usually what happens is amino acids in the chain are deleted, and so the amino acid sequence is different. Therefore, the structure and shape will be totally off, and it will not be able to perform its function. Without a working APC gene, the growth of polyps in the colon will go unchecked, and they will remain there. They will remain growing until they become cancerous and could eventually kill you. The APC gene is on the 5th chromosome, which is this whole thing, and it is on the Q arm, which is the longer arm. This is the Q arm. This is the P arm. The Q is the longer one, as you can see, and it is in the second region. So this is split up into 3 regions. This is region 1. This is region 2. And this is region 3. And then it is, and obviously my picture isn't exactly to scale, so that's not exactly the second band of the second region. However, that is where it is actually located on a real chromosome, which would be 5q22. My FAPS analogy, I compare FAPS to like an event with blindfolded security. So the security at the event symbolize like the APC gene, and so the blindfolded security is the mutated APC gene. And so then the people at the event are just all the cells in the body, or like the cells in the large intestine. And so when you have a lot of cells, something is bound to go wrong. So like when you have a lot of cells dividing and stuff, something can occur, and so something will go wrong, and like a polyp will develop, for example. And so our normal security would just normally security would go over and they would stop that fight, they would break it up, and that would be the end of that. However, if you have blindfolded security, they won't be able to identify and stop the fight. So that's like our mutated APC gene. It is unable to do its job and prevent the polyps from developing. So the fighting will continue, and it will even spread. And so the polyps will spread, and the polyps will develop all throughout the colon. And so eventually the fighting will get so bad that everybody in the event is just fighting, and the event just cannot continue, so it must be canceled. And so that's like when the polyps become cancerous and spread throughout the body. And so when the body has cancer cells all throughout it, it won't be able to survive, and so it will die. And dying is like our event getting canceled because of so much fighting. And so that is my analogy. A normal colon will maintain homeostasis of 3 main things: sodium, potassium, and water levels. The colon maintains a regular amount of water through osmosis. Water will simply pass through the plasma membrane depending on the level of water in the colon or in the cells of the colon. The colon maintains a level of potassium the same way. Potassium will pass through the phospholipid bilayer through passive transport. So and it will move through the phospholipid bilayer depending on the levels, either in the colon or like in the body. So if the colon has too much potassium, then potassium will be collected by the colon. colon also maintains a regular amount of sodium with sodium channels. Sodium can't pass through the phospholipid bilayer, so it needs channels to move it in and out of the colon. So when the colon needs to collect sodium, the channels will open and collect the sodium. However, if someone has FAPS, they will have polyps all throughout their colon. And once these polyps become cancerous, the cancer cells will spread. And as you know, cancer cells they divide nonstop, and so they don't do their intended purpose. So the colon will essentially shut down if the polyps become cancerous and it spreads throughout. So all the ways that the colon maintains homeostasis will not be able to function anymore, and the colon will just shut down. That is why it is so important for people with FAPS to get treated as early as possible so that the polyps don't become cancerous and the cancer cells spread throughout their colon and their entire body. FAPS follows an autosomal dominant inheritance pattern, meaning that every person has 2 copies of the gene, but they only need 1 copy in order to have FAPS. So, if we look at the example, you can see that the father has FAPS and he has 1 mutated allele and 1 normal allele. The mother has 2 normal alleles and they want to have a children. They want to have a child, sorry. And so they want to know what the chances of them having a child with FAPS are. So, when you put it into the Punnett square, you end up with like a 50% chance of the child having a mutated APC gene, meaning that they will have a 50% chance of giving it to a child. People mainly inherit FAP from their parents, although 25 to 30% of FAP cases are from spontaneous mutations. However, research has not yet determined what causes these mutations or what environmental factors affect the APC gene. FAP affects 1 in every 10,000 people in the US. Currently, there are around 30,000 cases in America. One group who is especially at risk for FAP is Ashkenazi Jews. Researchers at Johns Hopkins Hospital found an APC gene mutation called the I1307K mutation. This mutation is found only in Ashkenazi Jews. Ashkenazi Jews are Jews of Russian or Eastern European ancestry. About 6% of Ashkenazi Jews have this gene mutation, so they're at a high risk for developing FAB. The high rate of this gene mutation among Ashkenazi Jews is thought to be because many of them share a common ancestor. That is why this group is known to be at risk for many genetic diseases.